It's Monday and time for the Back to Business podcast, featuring Calgary's industry leaders. Welcome today's show host, Kim Hayden.
Well, I'm set and ready to learn a load of information about Calgary with our guest today, Fraser Abbott from Calgary Tourism. And I'm telling you, I had no clue everything that's going on in this city. So sit tight, hold on, guarantee you're going to learn lots. But first, our land acknowledgement.
In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, Ga'aina, Piikani, the Tsuut'ina, the E'ahe Nakota Nations, the Métis Nation Region 3, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta.
Alrighty, Fraser, welcome to the show. Super excited to have you here.
Thanks for inviting me to the Calgary Petroleum Club. Thrilled to be part of your podcast.
We are working hard here to keep up with the amazing evolutions that are going on in the city. The city is doing some cool stuff. Before we dive into how you are contributing to the changing landscape of what Calgary was and where it's moving forward to, I want you to share, who is Fraser?
Sure. Well, I head up the Champions program at Tourism Calgary. This is our meetings and conventions division that seeks out different conferences that we can bring into the city to fill up our convention venues and hotels and keep everybody busy. But in my role, what I do is I try to identify local thought leaders that could potentially become the chairs of those different conferences that we bring in. And with the BMO expansion coming online over at the Calgary Stampede, we're going to have the second largest convention facility in the country. And that enables us to go after some larger conferences that would have bypassed Calgary beforehand. So I'm in a position to be able to find some of those local thought leaders that could chair big conferences with 3,000 to 8,000 to 10,000 delegates, making a noticeable impact on the city, and then finding different ways for our business development team to fill up both convention centers in as many weeks as we can and make positive economic impact for the city, and then ideally some really positive legacy outcomes as well in terms of the attraction of further capital and talent acquisition as well, and retention of talent in this destination, because we want to make sure that the young professionals have a great opportunity to grow, live, and work in this amazing city of Calgary.
Okay, I think we can just stop the podcast now because that was a great answer. I don't know how we can go much. But, okay, so tell me, what are these conventions? I'm thinking 8,000 people, 10,000 people. That's huge. That's a lot of people. What are the industries that you're looking at?
It covers all the different sectors. It could be culture and arts. I've got a neat one that our team has managed to secure called BoucherCon. That's going to be 3,000 delegates of mystery and crime writers that are coming in October 2025. That's going to fill up one of our convention venues and all these different hotels. And it's kind of like a comic expo, except it's for mystery and crime writing. And then there will be a youth literature division of that as well. And just think of all the great things that we could do in combination with the Calgary Public Library as well as the CBE in terms of getting people interested in reading different novels, short stories, as well as, getting ready to put pen to paper and work on their own stories as well, or write it digitally, of course.
And that's, that's first of all, I never even thought of that. See, that's what's crazy about this is there's so many niches out there that have large audiences that I don't even think about. However, when I was at the Banff Media Festival 7 years ago, that was the number one thing they were looking for. The number one piece of content they were looking for, anybody who was writing a script on, true crime, murder mysteries, anything like that. So there must be, I never even put that together. So it's crazy.
There's associations for everything. And it's just a question of whether or not it's the right fit for our city to bring some of these different events to Calgary. If we've got an ecosystem that can support it in terms of thought leaders that are well connected, and there might be the opportunity to secure some different sponsorship for some of these conferences. Are they the right fit to bring into Calgary? And if so, then we put together local organizing committee and a bid book and try to go get it. But in terms of sectors, we cover lots of different things. But my priorities are really, and our organization's priorities, is to take a look at the different institutions that are here in Calgary and align our solicitation efforts with their strategic priorities. So, for example, we're a hub for agriculture and agri-food. So there's lots of different opportunities within that. And then there are spin-off areas as well. We could work with the University of Calgary's vet school on a whole array of different conferences on bovine health. I mean,
we're leading in that. We, like I saw this whole thing where we are leading on cattle feeding and care all the way through from birth to, whatever the end result of that cow is. And Calgary is a place where I met somebody who was here from Oklahoma State University, OSU. Mm-hmm. That's how I became aware that, we're leaders. It seems like Calgary's kind of a leader on many fronts.
So many different ones. And think of an emerging one that we have coming up. In 2024, we're going to open up the new Cancer Care Center.
Yes.
Up over by Foothills, and it's going to be the second largest in North America. It's got 9 different research institutes within it, and all these different clinical research scientists that are working on an array of different things that are incredible in terms of the research that they're doing for patient therapies and improving health outcomes. And you combine that with Cummings School of Medicine's focusing on precision medicine and big data and manipulating the data, big data sets to come up with new treatment protocols and new clinical trials that we're going to be able to do. It's really groundbreaking. So within each of those 9 different research institutes, there might be a multiplicity of different conferences that fit within that. So I'll give you another example. Great question. It's just taken me a while to...
I love these because we all, and I think every listener out there can agree to a certain point. We all get busy in our own zone of genius, our own lane, our own life. And to understand the complexity and the diversity of what this city is now offering, I think it's a little mind-blowing. And I think these are the kind of conversations we have to have. Because I would have never thought about a writers, anything to do with a writing convention.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean,
well,
why not here? We're sitting in the dark inside half the year. What else are you going to do? Let's write a book.
Perhaps we just need to stay get out of the lane and think that we're an Istanbul cab driver, cover a lot of ground. And that's kind of what I do as I'm busy boiling the ocean, looking for different opportunities. So health sciences would be one area, but obviously we are an existing hub of excellence as it relates to the energy sector, as well as renewables. And let's lean in hard on that and come up with some different opportunities for us to explore conferences like that. We just hosted the World Petroleum Congress, which is great, but there's a multiplicity of other ones that are within that realm, as well as looking at alternative sources of energy too. 2028, we're bidding against Melbourne and Glasgow on the International Geosciences Conference. This is like the Olympics for the earth sciences. Mm-hmm. So 8,000 delegates, it's about $18.5 million in economic impact for 1 week in August, plus all their different field trips that they would do. So provided that we can get across the finish line and beat out our competition to land it, because it is a global competition in this marketplace of attracting conferences, our destination has to stand out above all the others. Plus, we have to showcase the strengths of our local ecosystem. So we got great champions working on this one from the University of Calgary and Mount Royal University. But if we land that, think of the impact that we can have, not only in the immediate economic impact, but the legacy outcomes in terms of the furtherance of the research agenda on the earth sciences, the opportunity for transdisciplinary studies across different faculties up at the university or at Mount Royal, and then collaboration with industry as well. Well, for sure, we're going to be able to attract more talent and more funding on those particular areas. It's remarkable what we can accomplish. And keep in mind, earth sciences would also extend to planetary studies too. And we've got some of the best space studies that are going on up at the University of Calgary. And then ATCO is doing some fun stuff with their space labs too. So, once you start to get into the rabbit hole, or as I call them, the Abbott holes of research, you uncover all these amazing gems. There's so much to be excited about in terms of the talent that's in this destination, and what they're doing to move things ahead. So if at Tourism Calgary we can help them in terms of landing these conferences, think of what we could do in terms of spurring on economic development and building a better outcome for our city and economic opportunities, but a better future for Calgary. And so a lot of conversations can happen at these different conferences, much like they do here at the Calgary Petroleum Club. This is a hub of great collisions of connectivity that happen. And boy, if I could be a fly on the wall here at the CPC on a daily basis, just think of the different opportunities I could walk out of here and go, oh, there's some opportunities here. Why don't we go take a look at that conference? Your own background in real estate, so much going on there. But
always a lot going on there.
And a multiplicity of conferences there too. But commercial real estate, we could take a look at that. The conversion of a lot of office space into residential, or repurposing stuff into office space like Aspen Properties has done over at Palliser Square into AgriPlay. That 65,000 square foot vertical garden. Can you imagine if that starts feeding the convention center, and what a story that is, that we've got a garden 1 block away from the convention center where you can get your lettuce and herbs that are going to be out on your plate when you're dining, and we didn't have to haul it up in a truck from Mexico. And that's a pretty compelling story.
That's absolutely. And I think that story is, so maybe you can help me understand how the city comes into play. So we know that major convention centers like Las Vegas, like New Orleans, there's major convention centers everywhere. And the city plays into the attraction of that. How does Calgary play into the attraction of these convention centers?
Well,
or these conventions?
It's a great question. I think Tourism Calgary does a great job in terms of showcasing why our destination is such a great place to come and visit, but also to live, work, and play. And when we work collaboratively with other groups like Calgary Economic Development, the University of Calgary, SAIT, MRU, Invest Alberta, all these different groups that are working to attract capital and talent into the destination, if we do a good job of showcasing the scope of things that are going on, that's going to attract more people to come and experience Calgary. Now, we're very blessed by our geography. You might not say that when it's minus 35, but we got clients that like that too.
Yes.
And it's been a great winter so far, knock on wood. But our proximity to the Rockies are amazing, but we've also got proximity to 5 UNESCO World Heritage Sites in Alberta, which are amazing. We can go down to Drumheller, we can go to Smashed In Buffalo Jump, Waterton, and check out all these amazing spots. But that gateway to the Rockies is something that really, truly is magical. We've got a city of about 1.5 million people that's got built-up infrastructure that's amazing. We're getting a pretty impressive green line that's coming in, and granted, right now we're experiencing, I don't call it construction noise, I call it the music of progress as we're building out all these things. But that's a great thing that's going to happen, that's going to enable us to travel throughout the city a little bit easier, but then also the workforce is going to be able to get in and service those different hotels and convention centers a lot easier too. When you got a good transportation hub, that makes a big difference. If we could also extend that over to the Rockies, wouldn't that be great if we had the high-speed rail line?
Oh, yes.
But things over
Eventually.
time, you got to play the long game, right? But we're really blessed in terms of the geography that we have. And then having WestJet using Calgary as its hub, we've got one of the busiest airports in the country. And now with WestJet naming that, we're servicing over 91 destinations with direct flights globally, which is massive. And then that makes it easier for people to come into the destination. So when we work with the Airport Authority and Travel Alberta and Calgary Economic Development on developing more air routes, that means it's easier for visitors to get in here. That also means it's easier for corporate travelers to get in here. And it also makes it easier for convention delegates to come up and choose Calgary, which is a safe, wonderful destination that's doing so many different things from a sustainability perspective. And I think one of the things that we have is all these delightful surprises that people arrive here and they go, oh my gosh, I had no idea. City of 1.5 million, we fight above our weight class.
Oh, absolutely.
In terms of the intellectual capital that we've got here in the destination, it's the highest concentration of postgraduate degrees outside of the MIT Harvard area. Yeah. impressive.
Oh, wow.
So
I
a
didn't
lot of
know that.
a lot of young, bright people armed with great degrees that are ready to do all sorts of amazing things. Still, notwithstanding the downturn that we experienced in 2018 in terms of oil and gas pricing, still have the highest concentration of head offices outside of the Toronto area per capita right here. There's so
We
much.
have a beautiful downtown.
Yeah, we
You
do.
look at our downtown in comparison to other cities. A lot of the other cities have everything kind of sprawled out, whereas we have this jam, and it really it does surprise me. I drive around and I go, oh, look at the way that building moves, or and I see a lot in the architecture downtown. Like it's just pretty to walk around, right? Plus we have all the. I don't know if Doug Dreedigger is the artist that did the mural with the dove. And he does all the interactive, like you mentioned, Waterton Park. He does a lot of those types of things. And he does running tours through Calgary based on the art installations.
So great.
He loves all the street art. When we look at 20 years ago, everybody would say, you fly into Calgary, you go to Banff. You go from Banff back to Calgary's airport and you fly out. Are we seeing a shift in that where people aren't just coming to go to Banff?
Absolutely. I think Calgary is becoming a hub in and of its own. There are lots of delightful surprises and reasons for why you should come into Calgary. This city's got a palpable buzz. So I'll give you a couple of examples of that. One of my favorites was during Stampede, I went to the Roundup. I think it was down over in the Wild Horse Saloon. It was Sam Roberts' band was playing, and I was, after he finished and the guy from Great Big Sky was playing, I walked back along Stephen Avenue, and at this time it was about 11:30 at night, and I think it was a Saturday, second Saturday of Stampede. Well, just outside Scotiabank Tower on Stephen Avenue, there was a Latino festival that was going on, and they were teaching people how to salsa dance. So every patio was still jammed at 11:30 at night, and there were hundreds of people that were salsa dancing on Stephen Avenue. And just to see the vibrancy of that. Now, I've been to other great destinations. Montreal's lots of fun, but Calgary's got this buzz. And we definitely looked our best during that particular time, during Stampede, when Stephen Avenue's just chock-a-block full of people, even at 11:30 at night. This is a fun place to be. And, taking a look at the people that were there, it was millennials. There were tourists from Rocky Mountaineer that were maybe staying at one of the downtown hotels, and they were seniors, and everybody's just dancing around. And not only that, it was accessible. So there were people that were dancing in their wheelchairs too. It was just really, really cool to see. So there's a buzz. Now, that's also what I'm hearing anecdotally as it relates to venture capital and what's going on over at Platform Calgary in terms of startups and scale-ups. Everybody that's in tech wants to be in Calgary, and we've got a really great emerging hub. So again, this is an area of focus that we're going to take a look at. How can we start to grab more of our share of the pie of technology conferences? Some of them, they're going to start up here too, and then they're going to scale up. But we're exploring different opportunities to accelerate what Platform Calgary and all these great groups like CDL Rockies is doing in terms of the innovation space.
Yes.
So many interesting groups, and their acceleration programs are really, really impressive in terms of helping us build business opportunities. CPC has always been a spot where that's happened, and we're seeing it in other pockets throughout the city. So let's see that take off. But the other one is, a lot of people didn't think Calgary was that exciting in the winter. Well, Chinook Blast is one of our solutions.
Yes, we were just talking about that earlier. That is super exciting. Walk us down the road with that one. Give us a little bit of what we can expect from Chinook Blast.
So Chinook Blast is it's a great festival of festivals that happens when what would traditionally be a lower period in terms of visitation into the destination. Happens at the end of January, start of February, and it's going to run for a couple of weeks. We've got the Red Bull Nitro X rally that's happening over at in the grandstand over at the Stampede, where they go out on the chuck wagon track and drive these race cars on ice, and it's pretty wild. That'd be kind of fun to check out. And then there's all sorts of different activations down along Stephen Avenue as well as Olympic Plaza. You've also got One Yellow Rabbit's High Performance Rodeo, which is in its umpteenth year. They're doing so many great things. And that's always been an anchor cultural event for Calgary in January. And to see that continue on and such great people like Denise Richards and Michael Green, the late Michael Green, founding that, doing some amazing things, it's incredible that it's still going on to this day, and then working as well with Treaty 7, making Treaty 7 in the Indigenous groups. It's like, wow, this is fantastic. So we've got all sorts of different festivals that are going on. Plus, up at Windsport, they're going to have some snowboard championships that are up there later in February. We've also got the speed skating, and I think we got some curling going on. There's one thing after another. So,
and I heard rumor that there is going to be, through the plus 15s during the winter, there'll be some music busking type of things available. The city's also like everywhere you turn around, you're going to be inspired.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm taking away. I want to circle back around to innovation and our youth. Calgary has always been the youngest city per capita in Canada. And with that being said, one of my favorite places to go to to enjoy is, believe it or not, pitch night at the platform.
Great.
I love pitch night. And there was, going back to the med tech innovations that we're seeing here and our new cancer institute and such that is coming out. There was a gal, young, we're talking, these are people in their late 20s, early 30s, and they had actually built a portable mammogram machine that could go out into rural areas and has a SaaS product that will then send that information back to our new institute so you can have a preventative care outside of an urban area.
Great.
And I'm watching this going, how do these people think this? But you're thinking in the same way. Anything is possible. There's all these niches and everybody needs to be served. How can the average Calgarian be involved or benefit from or serve these larger events coming to Calgary? How can they be of service to help attract more?
That's a great question. I'm going to try to answer that a couple of ways. So the genesis of the Champions program was something that I came across about back in 2004. I was attending a conference in Honolulu called Professional Conference Management Association, PCMA. And the thing that I took away from my time in Honolulu was everywhere I looked, there were billboards or there were things that were promoting people to bring events to the island, meaning that everybody had a role to play in terms of ensuring the economic well-being of that economy, which is reliant on tourism.
Yeah.
So bring the wedding, bring the anniversary, bring your corporate retreat, bring your association meeting to Honolulu or the other islands so that tourism, you can raise a tide so all the boats float. And I thought to myself, we need to bring that to Calgary. So 13 years ago when I was helping out the Calgary Hotel Association, we were helping Tourism Calgary at the time rewrite their strategic plan. And when I embedded that particular piece into the strategic plan, this notion of ambassadors, which now we've retermed as champions, but that notion that everybody in Calgary has a role to play in terms of being an ambassador of the destination. So there's a couple of things that we can do. We can, again, extend that invitation for people to come and experience the ultimate host city of Calgary. You can host a reunion, a wedding, a celebration of sorts. But if you're a member of a corporation, you can also talk to your organization about hosting an event. If it's a small event to large event, you can host it here at the CPC. If it's a big event of many thousand delegates, well, let's get it over to the convention centers. And people can reach out to Tourism Calgary and we can assist with the request for proposals and getting your venues searched out and all that, and we can take care of that. But that's what the average Calgarian can do, is they can be an ultimate host in that regard. The other thing is they can plug in and be involved we have a great thing called the White Hat Academy, which people can sign up for, and they can get a better understanding of what's going on in different neighborhoods and different quadrants throughout the city, and then also understand where all the resources and tools are to find out what's going on right now. And that's predominantly geared towards frontline employees in the tourism sector. Tourism Calgary's got over 1,000 member organizations that are part of our group, but what's to stop Glenda and the team here at CPC to have some of their frontline employees take the White Hat Academy and learn more about that so they could de facto be concierges to direct people that have inquiries about what's going on in the city. And everybody can benefit from that. Think of all the new institutions that are getting ready to open up. Next year, we're going to have the SAM Center over by the Stampede. So they're going to have a wave of different Stampede volunteers that ideally should take that course, the White Hat Academy, because we're going to have an influx of visitors that are going to the SAM Center at the Stampede. They're going to have a multiplicity of questions about what's going on. How did this happen? Where should I go? Where's the best place to try a steak? And beyond what's already out there on the digital space, on our website, visitcalgary.com, what's to stop you from doing a little bit extra work and figuring out how to be an ultimate host? So I think those are two areas where people could plug in. A third would be just volunteering for different associations. If they need some volunteers to help out with conferences that they're hosting, that's another great opportunity. And then we're always looking for people to help out with the white hat ceremonies and all that type of thing. And then also being the white hat greeters up at the airport and at different events
and
too.
Our airport's beautiful.
Isn't it great?
It is an amazing, like the airport authority did. And it really is. It's world class. You come in, it's such a great airport. So we've talked industry and we've talked interest, inclusion. So let's talk about I had the coolest experience last week. It was one of these moments I don't think I'll ever forget. I took my beautiful little 5-year-old grandson to see the CPC holiday train. And we're standing there at Anderson Station, and there's at least 1,000 people around us, and every language, every voice, every age, all there. It was this moment where I really felt like I was part of something bigger. So when we talk inclusion, how does all the initiative around bringing tourism to Calgary also serve all the different new Calgarians and all the different cultures we have in this city? Sure.
Well, Calgary should be welcoming to people from all backgrounds. I think Tourism Calgary does a great job of making sure that we're showcasing this rich cultural mosaic that we have to offer. Calgary is the third most multicultural city in the country, and that number is going to continue to expand, which is awesome because I think it just dials up the cool factor. We've
Absolutely.
got so much great color and energy that's coming into the destination as a result. So if you take a look at our website on places to dine, you're really going to see that mosaic right there. What a great way to celebrate the culture. Is through culinary diplomacy, I guess, or just sitting down at the table and experiencing different cultures through their food. And we just have an amazing culinary scene here in this city, and really remarkable for all taste buds. But think about it. Calgary is one of those spots where we've got so many people that have ventured off to loan their expertise for the development of things offshore. So they've experienced the globe in so many different spots. So they're demanding for that to happen in our own destination. And when we had the privatization of our liquor industry, we have the most dynamic array of selection in terms of wines and beers that you can get because this is really a free market economy. If you take a look, we have the highest degree of SKUs that you could order. Just talk to one of the reps and say, I want that particular brand brought in, and then they go onto their little computer system and they figure out if they can do it. Sure. And you could have that shipped over in a couple of weeks. So that's the nature of what happens when you got people that have global acumen and have been out to other spots of the globe. And then you have this influx of new Calgarians that are coming in as well that want to see some of their food and traditions celebrated here. We can get all these products here, which is pretty cool. I'll just also add, I used to help out with a group called Soccer Without Boundaries. It's now Umoja Community Mosaic with my friend Jean-Claude Munyazamu. And I always thought one of the best ways that they would work with new Canadians to get them feeling welcome and that they have a sense of belonging, using sport as an anchor. Now they've got a couple other different platforms in which they can do that because not everybody plays sports. But it was a great way, going with Soccer Without Boundaries as the anchor experience. It was a great way to welcome new Canadians through sport, make them feel part of a team, and have those kids playing on other established teams such that they could meet Calgarians that have been around for a little bit longer. And as a result, you got the interplay of the kids. But then what's the magic is you get the interplay of the adults. So I was able to connect with Jean-Claude Munyazamu, and then I would say, oh, anybody looking for work? Well, me, I'm a connector, so I can quickly connect the dots and find some different work opportunities. Or if there were some families that were having some struggles in terms of getting more established into the Calgary scene and they needed some different resources or access to some assistance, again, it's just tapping in. Well, I know a guy, or I know this lady that works over there. Boom, boom, boom. Let's make the connections. And that's the beauty of Calgary. We're 2 phone calls away from getting something done in a meaningful way. So I think that's pretty cool in terms of that's one of the great features of the city is when people are connected, some wonderful collision points can happen, and collisions in a positive way is what I mean. The interplay of those different backgrounds and seeing how we can help one another.
And down to the salsa lessons. I absolutely agree on everything you said. I think Calgary we're moving forward so quickly and developing and growing and welcoming without losing our small town spirit, that space and place that everybody has an opportunity here. So the White Hat program is one way that people could get involved. What was the website again?
Visit Calgary.com. That's the Tourism Calgary website so that you can learn about what's going on in the destination and how you might get involved in different things. But the White Hat Academy is something that's predominantly more for frontline employees of different attractions or hotels or convention venues or transportation groups, that kind of thing, where they have the interplay with our visitors.
Excellent. What's your favorite hidden gem in Calgary? I always love to ask this of people who are always out and about.
Favorite is difficult because that's singular. I have a multiplicity, but
give me a couple.
One of the things I brag about the most, and if you haven't had a chance, you got to go check it out, is go down to the National Music Center, Studio Bell. That place is I'm a musician in my mind. I'm a bagpiper, but a self-taught bassist. So I go nuts every time I go in there. And frequently I'm doing site inspections with different clients and showing them around to different venues throughout the city. So I got a lot of favorites. I can't wait to go check out the Canada Wilds and the polar bear exhibit at the zoo, Wilder Institute, and visiting Gasoline Alley at Heritage Park. But I get really animated whenever there's a site inspection over at National Music Center. And in part, it's because of the art of the possible. They have the Rolling Stones mobile recording unit that's parked there right beside the King Eddie Hotel, and you could still use it. You could record it, and I guess that's the art of the possible that gets me excited. Is one day I'd love to get my cover band reactivated so that we could cut an album there using the unit that the Rolling Stones used in the 70s. But Led Zeppelin 3 and 4 were recorded on that. And then Rolling Stones recorded Sticky Fingers and Exile on Main Street. And I think Bob Marley was using it in London in the 70s. And there's that live recording off the Legends album, No Woman, No Cry, where it's a live version. I think he used that. So it's like, can you imagine? We've got that here in our city. And there's so many lovely gems that we've got across this amazing city of ours. But
if you're only listening to this, go over to YouTube, check out the video. Fraser's pretty excited about it.
Somewhat animated, yeah. And I would just love the chance to go and do a jam. But if you ever get a chance, do a behind the scenes tour with the folks over at at National Music Center, because they'll show you all the different recording studios that they've got, including the Olympic studio that they've got. That was, again, an analog one that was used in the 70s, and so many legends recorded on that stuff. So, but that being said, National Music Center is one amongst a multiplicity of that. I think the key thing is Calgarians are great storytellers, so get a chance to connect with people and go on these curated experiences. Judy from Calgary Walking Tours, sometimes she takes us out on these great tours, and she always fills us up with these great gems of ideas. The Wonderland sculpture that's over by the Bow Building?
Yes,
And
yes.
one of the cool things is you can walk inside the sculpture, and then you can see and gaze out through the eyes of the girl. You can see the world through a young girl's eyes, which is pretty cool when you look at it from that
I
perspective.
didn't know that. I've driven past, never. Now I'm going to have to go.
You got to pop in and check it out.
Got to go check it out.
And in the summertime, get yourself out on the river and do you can rent a raft or a paddle
Float
board
the bow.
and go experience
Yeah.
the city. And if you're really talented, you could try to surf the Bow over by the 10th Street Bridge, because we actually have river surfing in this city.
Okay, folks, you'll never see that from me. I promise. I am not that talented.
Well, there's
But
lots of cool people that are out doing stuff, and it's just it's a real privilege to be working at Tourism Calgary and to be aware of all these different things and to be in a capacity where we can share them. And I love doing site inspections with different clients and sharing with them some of these insider scoops. And
Absolutely.
they just light up like Christmas trees. But at the same degree, part of my role is trying to be that ultimate host as we're trying to land conferences and secure them. I love to work with our local thought leaders as champions and share with them the scope of resources and the network of contacts that we can have so that they can manage a conference at 10,000 feet and delegate responsibilities to a professional organization to do the heavy lifting for them. And then just make sure that T's are crossed, I's are dotted, and we got great events that the delegates are going to have an unbelievable time, and they're going to sing the praises about Calgary and surroundings, and they're going to want to come back. And it's just a great, great role for me to be in, because I'm so passionate about the city and love helping people, and to be able to connect the dots and make things happen in a city where, again, you're 2 phone calls away from getting some action happening, off from the writing of a back of a napkin and executing it. That's pretty cool. And part of that stems back from the fact that my dad used to be a member here still is. He's an honorary member now because he's had a membership for over 50 years.
Oh, wow.
And I would hear stories of him back in the 70s when he was a partner with PricewaterhouseCoopers, and just the interplay of different people here in this club, the collision of sectoral interests and how things happened. Just amazing. Just by connecting. You can't do this stuff virtually. You've got to meet in person and develop
Absolutely.
meaningful relationships that aren't just transactional relationships. You got to develop trust. And part of the way that you do that is potentially breaking bread with one another over at lunch. And Dad was saying there used to be a club table that you would come to if you didn't already have guests that were lined up. You would be seated at a club table and then seated with other people that didn't have people that were lined up. So those connections would happen. Does that still happen here?
They also have like members mixers and bingo boards that members. So you have to go around and find out who speaks 3 languages, who's hiked a mountain, so you're actually. It's not just about the money. And I think that's what we're seeing in today's world is we are shifting from strictly profit to purpose and profit.
It's excellent.
We want to know that we are serving the 3 basic bottom lines: the purpose, the people, and the profit. And I think that's where coming back into spaces where you can connect is so critical. And especially with our workspaces changed, 30% of the people, no matter how many donuts you put out on Donut Monday, are not going to come back to the office 5 days a week. So in knowing that, I think that these events are even more critical to the connectivity and the ideas and the inspiration and the growth within industry. Is that Sound about right?
It
Fraser?
resonates with me. You're preaching to the converted, and I think there's only so much that you can do from your virtual workplace. And lots of people work remotely, and they're great at it. But for the nature of my work, I'm really highly reliant on those connection points. And one of the secrets to my success is show up.
Show up.
Show up. Be engaged. Be helpful. Find different ways that you can help. And, that's in my DNA. So I want to help other people be successful in their respective areas. And if that results in conferences, well, that's great. But it's really the long game of relationships is just being helpful. Show up and be engaged. And I think CPC provides a great forum for that to happen. And certainly the programming that the group is doing will certainly assist with that in terms of brokering relationships to happen. You got to be a little bit purposeful in order to make that happen.
What is that? Your net worth is in the network, right? And I think we've spent the last 20 years where we thought that network was through a click funnel online. And the reality is, I think we've all been taught a very real lesson that network is actually face-to-face, talking to people, shaking a hand, finding out how you can be of service. Because at the end of the day, being a good neighbor is what true purpose is. And I think Calgary is an amazing, great neighbor.
Well, I got to pay a lot of penance as a neighbor because I play bagpipes, so I feel bad for my neighbors. So I got to be extra nice and shovel their walks and do what I can to make sure I don't get the noise complaints.
Yeah. Do you have cats? Can you just blame it on the cat?
No.
Okay.
I definitely strangle a tartan octopus, and it makes a hell of a racket. Yeah.
Well, next time, folks, when Fraser comes to the show, we'll guarantee that he brings his bagpipes.
Well, we're
with him.
trying to attract listeners. Let's not repel them. There's a fine balance.
Anything you'd like to share that we did not cover?
Well, there's so much that's going on in the city to be excited about. 2024 is going to be a great year. We've got the opening of the BMO Center over by the Stampede. And again, that's going to be a paradigm shift in terms of tourism and our ability to land even bigger conferences of greater magnitude. So think of a 3,000 delegate conference for 5 days. The economic impact of that could be between $2 and $4 million, depending on if it's a national one or an international one. Well, multiply that by 30 weeks. Okay, 30, you're up to $90 million in economic impact. That doesn't even begin to track the legacy outcomes that could come from that in terms of capital attraction and talent attraction and retention. So these are great city builders for us if we look at events as catalysts for economic development. And then keep in mind, we've got another Calgary TELUS Convention Center. And if they've got 2,000 delegate conferences 5 days a week, 30 weeks out of the year, think of just what an economic powerhouse that can be. But it's that interplay of ideas and the exchange that's going to take place again that's going to up Calgary's cool factor. We've already got a great buzz, and that'll continue to grow upon itself. And we've just got to stay the course and continue to reinvest in ourselves and do cool things. So that being said, 2024 is super cool because we also have the SAM Center that's getting ready to open up over by the Stampede, which will be an interactive museum and another cool offsite spot. But guess what? Shovels are going to go into the ground for the Green Line, not just in terms of relocation of infrastructure so that we can start the real dig, but we can start the real dig for the Green Line. Shovels will also be going into the ground in Q1 for the arena. And that's a massive game changer for our city as well. So when we invest in infrastructure, granted, there's a big expense, but there's a big ROI that comes out of that. And the types of events that we can put into that and the spillover effect that that's going to have for our hospitality sector and employment opportunities, you can't discount that. Just take a look at how fun the city can be on a Friday or Saturday night when we're playing the Oilers. This city just goes amok. And if I was a bar owner, those would be the days where it's like Christmas came early. So those are really important days for us to, let's magnify that. Let's do even more. So 2024, I'm super excited about. The Cancer Center is going to open in 2024 as well. And that's a game changer for all the citizens of Alberta. But think about
And
what's
surrounding areas. My understanding is that's going to serve people in like neighboring areas.
provinces.
Yeah.
Indeed. And as I said earlier, those 9 different research centers that we're going to have will have a massive impact in terms of positioning Calgary as a hub for cancer research and treatments. And then think of the other additional expertise that we'll be able to put out there in terms of psychosocial oncology, in terms of the care that we have for one another and how we can help caregivers in that process too. So I'm very buoyant, optimistic about what can happen there. If you take a look down at Stephen Avenue right now, one of the great things that's happening is the Glenbow Reimagined, and that's going to open in 2026 when they're completed their entire renovation of that amazing facility. Arts Commons is about to go through 2 phases of renovations. One is going to be a brand new build of a 1,000-seat theater, and then they're going to go back for phase 2, and they're going to revamp the infrastructure of the existing theaters that are there. That's like one of the big centers for performing arts, and it's the biggest one in Canada in terms of the different arts groups that are there. So that cluster that you were talking about, the proximity, our downtown is so exciting because of that. And at the same time, they're getting ready to do a relaunch of Olympic Plaza and Stephen Avenue as well. So, there's some really interesting things that are happening. CMLC is going to have their fingers in all of that, which is really exciting. And it's purposeful design. Keep in mind, we've also got the post-secondary institutions are starting to get more and more presence into the downtown core. We're starting to see more and more students coming into the core as well. And then coupled with the repurposing of some of those commercial buildings into residential, well, the core's taken off. And granted, it's going to take a while, but every time that we're adding more people into that space and doing cool things, and we're doing it with purposeful design and being mindful of the city that we want to become, I'm very, very bullish on that. Later down the road, we're going to have a new field house up by McMahon. That's going to be great from a sports perspective, and there's a massive economic impact that comes from that. But as a parent, I'm so excited to see how that is going to impact the youth of tomorrow as well, knowing that we've got great facilities that they're able to use. I was certainly a beneficiary of the legacy outcome of the '88 Olympics, but when we continue to build that infrastructure, it just makes this city so much better. And the way that we're doing it in a way that is conscious that it's Calgarians from all walks of life and accessible too. Pretty awesome, the different things that are going to be going on in the city.
And with it being such a young city, we have the opportunity of making it truly accessible, making it diverse, and making it exciting. I'm going to wrap this up with, and this is, you mentioned ROI, you mentioned investment, but I want to plant this seed. And it goes with the saying, I believe it's Warren Buffett that said, a poor man plants a crop so he can eat on Saturday, but a wealthy man plants a crop so he can eat in 3 years. So we're growing it. And that's what I love about the leadership here in Calgary, is they're looking 3, 6, 30 years down the road so that my grandson, who's the absolute light of my eye, has a great future right here in Calgary. Thank you, Fraser.
Thank you. It's a great conversation. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us today on the Back to Business podcast. Be sure to visit calpeteclub.com, calpeteclub.com, to find out more about upcoming events, networking opportunities, and membership. If you are not already a valued member at the CPC, where we are proudly connecting and supporting Calgary's business leaders.